Hello and welcome to Nottingham Music Excellence. So today I've got a special guest star, Alex Clarke, who's going to play some awesome jazz on her Selmer MKVI Tenor Saxophone. Stay tuned, I think you're really going to enjoy it. Here we go. So tell us a little bit about how you got into jazz, and did you play classical first and then get into jazz from that, or?
So I started off playing classical piano, started having lessons on that when I was 7, and then I played the recorder like most kids do at school, and then there's only so far that I felt I could go with a recorder, so got a flute, so I was 10 then. But I'd still always really wanted to play the saxophone. My mum wouldn't let me buy one because she said it was too big and I'd probably leave it on the bus. So...
But you always had that in the background of you playing. It was like a, something that you wanted to sort of steer onto.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even really know about jazz. We did, in year 6, we did musical Guys and Dolls, and that's obviously the music of Frank Loesser. And I remember being really into the music at the time. So I suppose there's been always something that had drawn me towards jazz.
Yeah.
And then year 8 at school, so I'd been 14, I went away on a wind band weekend, and in the next door room, jazz band were playing, and it sounded way more fun than what the wind band were playing. And I thought, I really want to do that, but because I was on flute, they wouldn't let me join.
Oh yeah.
So as soon as I got back home, I sort of kept going on to my parents, please can I get a sax? So we hired one, we hired an alto for 3 months from a local music shop.
Oh yeah.
And my mum thought, this will die out, she's not going to carry this on. And at the end of the 3 months, I was really into it, and we bought it off the music shop.
Oh, here's a controversial one. So, do you think that the best jazz musicians learnt classically first? Or do you think that they sort of went down that route earlier?
Oh, that's such a tricky question, because I know a lot of incredible jazz musicians who, that's all they've ever done. And they've, might have dropped out of school at 15, gone straight on their own, just learnt from playing with other people, through the music. And, they might not be able to read a note, but they're incredible musicians.
Yeah.
So I'd love to say that that's...
It's funny, isn't it? You've got those players that can't read a note, that play really freely, would be scared to play such precision.
Yeah.
And yeah, you've got those players like myself who like to play everything, your aim is to get everything really precisely that you see on the page, all the phrasing detail, and play it really in time, and yet that would scare some people to death,
Yeah, and yet equally there's people that can do both fantastically. Like my my first sax, I did have a sax teacher. So when I first started playing, I did about 3 months just completely on my own, figuring things out. And then I ended up getting lessons with a guy above a pub in Macclesfield. And when that sort of fizzled out, then I started getting lessons with Andy Scott from the RNCM, and he's like the perfect example of someone who can do both. Because he writes all this contemporary classical music, and then he can improvise incredibly, and you can do crossover the two.
You've got to admire those people that can do both.
Yeah.
And when do you think you started realising that this was definitely you, and you started, I've put here, swinging that way? Swinging that way towards that sort of genre more than your classical piano and flute and things?
So around year 9 at school, I remember having a conversation with my flute teacher along the lines of, you could consider going to music college. So for the next couple of years, I fully got it into my head that I wanted to go to music college, but that was going to be as a classical flautist. It's only then when the jazz sort of started overtaking that I thought, actually, I'd love to go and study jazz and take that seriously as a profession.
Do you think it's easier in some ways to get gigs if you're a jazz musician rather than... I always think that when you're classically trained, you've got to be up there right at the top to get any sort of decent gigs at all.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get into jazz, you sort of... Maybe I'm going to be a bit controversial again, but is there a certain extent of, like, you learn the trade as you go a little bit?
Yeah, and there's...
A bit more. Whereas with an orchestra, I feel that, if you weren't up to it, then you wouldn't even be sitting in the chair anyway.
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of jazz gigs of all standards and levels, put it that way. You've got your little local pub gigs, and then you've got your huge big theatres. And because there's that spectrum, I was able to start, sitting in with local bands and playing at local jazz clubs. And that was how I sort of started networking with people. Yeah. And that's ultimately how I've got the gigs I have now. Yeah. Just from meeting people like that.
That's one thing that's really annoying about the classical world, is that I feel like you're either there or you're there. Trying to sort of fit in and make a living sort of in the middle of that is very difficult. Yeah. It's such a precise sort of thing to do, Anyway. Yeah. Right, let's talk about the Rising Star category in the British Jazz Awards. Have I got that right? British Jazz Awards. Tell me about that and how you found yourself in that competition.
Okay, so it's a yearly award organised by Big Bear Music, who are based in Birmingham. And every year they ask clubs, promoters, festivals from all around the country to submit names for each category. So you've got a trumpet category, an alto category, a tenor category. And then they've also got a few other categories like Rising Star and Best Album, that sort of thing. And back in 2018, I was really fortunate to have squeezed on in 5th place. So how it works is they nominate 4 people for each category, open it up for the public to vote. But there's also a 5th box where you can write an other name, and my name managed to get written in the box enough times.
It's funny how you get these opportunities that sort of just come your way somehow, and
Yeah, it was totally out of the blue.
and you make something out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I was kind of on their radar, Big Bear Music's radar,
Yeah.
and I was invited to play at Birmingham Jazz Festival last year, which was a great gig, really good fun. And from that,
You just happened to win that competition.
yeah. So when the nominations came out this in 2019, I saw that I was amongst the list. And,
Wow.
yeah, somehow managed to.
It's fantastic. Do you have any advice for young musicians wanting to get into jazz that perhaps play more standard ABRSM kind of repertoire, or perhaps they are just predominantly classical players or have a classically based teacher like myself? I'm just thinking from my point of view. And just thoughts on what the best material is out there to get them started if they want to go a bit more of a jazz route, but they're stuck with a teacher like me who's more of a classical sort of teacher and player.
This is such a massive question. I mean,
I thought I'd find a few awkward ones for you.
They could buy all of the sort of the theory books, the play along books, all these, you know, scales, modes, all this. But actually, if they're not listening to jazz records, then they're not going to get
So
anywhere.
listening
You've got to know exactly, it sounds stupid, you've got to know what jazz sounds like in order to play it.
Yeah.
So I think this method of trying to learn all the theory and then somehow shoehorn it into jazz
Yeah.
is totally the wrong approach. You've got to go about it from listening to the music, completely embodying how it sounds, and then just start trying to imitate that. I think that's definitely the best way for them to learn.
Another thing as well that I want to talk about was when we say we play jazz or we like jazz, I always find it very ambiguous. You know, if I say to you I'm a classical musician, and you could say, well, do you play Handel, Stockhausen, Stravinsky? There's such a massive range of different things within that term classical. Is it kind of a bit like that with jazz, do you think?
Definitely.
And what style of jazz do you like to play? How would you describe it?
I'm into the really, really straight ahead stuff. My ultimate saxophone hero is Scott Hamilton, and it's just really melodic, really straight ahead, great swing feel. So that's sort of where my heart lies. But then either side of the spectrum, I enjoy exploring sort of slightly more contemporary things.
So would you say that your style of jazz is more, you could say like a more classical jazz? Would that be right?
Yes, in a way. You know, I enjoy playing American songbook tunes. I enjoy all the standards, and there's loads of great new music out there, don't get me wrong. But for me, just playing something really lyrical and sort of imagining you're a vocalist, that's that whole sort of concept. And then I also play a lot of earlier jazz, so like, you know, your New Orleans traditional jazz, which is more about, in fact it shares quite a lot of similarities that more contemporary sort of free improvisation has, because you've got that whole thing of you've got three on the front line and you're all improvising together, and it's how you can sort of be sympathetic and interact but not getting under each other's feet.
Super. Okay guys, I think that's it for this video. Thanks very much for staying tuned till the end. Hope you enjoyed that, and do check out other videos that I'll be uploading with some more jazzy repertoire. I'll upload some of the pieces in their entirety, but I think that's it for this one. Do give me a thumbs up and feel free to leave a complimentary comment in that section below. I'll see you on the next one. Bye! Well guys, I think that's a wrap for this one. So I hope you enjoyed that playing. I hope you enjoyed the video.
Sorry, I look really awkward. You have to do that. Hang on, let me just compose myself. I can't do it.